back for episode 22 of the Auld Triangle. Thank you everybody for joining us today. The Terrible Threesome are here as always. I am joined by Andy Stevenson and Caoilte Barra. No guest today. You're just stuck with us for the duration of the podcast.
Yeah, we couldn't afford a guest today, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't want to be making money off fighter interviews, so we decided not to do any interviews today because, you know, that's the hot topic in mixed martial arts right now.
Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, exactly. But, gladly, this is free for everybody. There's no money exchanging hands in any accounts, and we will continue to bring this podcast to you every week. As I said,
actually, I'm coming in hot here. If anyone ever fucking asks to be paid to come on the Auld Triangle, also they'll be told to jump off a bridge. Absolutely,
into they go.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not going to happen. But look, at no guess, but we have plenty to talk about today. We have 3 big domestic Irish shows that recently take place. One coming up this coming weekend as well. We will talk about Éire Fighting Championships, Iúr Fighting Championships, Cage Legacy, Premier FC, a couple of professional fights that went on in those cards and outside of those cards as well. You know, Andy, after going and you said you're busy doing you're at basketball there now, and seeing as I'm basketball #1 fan after going to one Boston Celtics game, I'm just wondering, do you do the same warm up before you play as Steph Curry? Just do the 5 in a row full court shots?
Man.
Did you? You probably taught Steph Curry all of that, I'd say. Did you?
I do 10. I do 10.
10.
Actually, and I wear Steph Curry's shoes, which makes me play exactly like him. So yeah, I was actually.
I think that Steph Curry wears Andy Stevenson shoes. Let's be real.
Well, obviously. That's come on now. I was actually playing some ball earlier on, just hooping, you know yourself.
Shooting some hoops.
Shooting some b-ball outside of school.
Yeah, that's it. A couple of guys are up to no good, I heard.
Started making trouble in the neighborhood. We just keep doing this for the rest of the
That's it. That's the quality that we bring you on the Auld Triangle podcast. If you like what you hear, lads, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for the support. Follow us on the SevereMMA YouTube channel. Hit us up on all the podcast platforms as well. We really do appreciate the support. Caoilte, I'm not going to leave you out in the cold. How are things with you, my man? Everything's all good. You're back in after a hard day's work yourself, working till ungodly hours of the morning back home in Ireland.
It is. Yeah, about 11 o'clock. Now, loads of work, plenty of travel, and back home now, ready to record.
How's the travel?
Let's not get into that, lads. Jesus Christ. I will go off, and you won't stop me if I go off. So we'll leave it there.
Caoilte almost got in trouble or got into a row on a train, on his train ride home. He funnily told us, but I'll keep that story for another day, or maybe Caoilte might be able to share it with us. But we must get on to why everybody is tuning in to listen, and that's the MMA, lads. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about, obviously, Iúr Fight Championships, Éire and Cage Legacy, as we said. I think the most important fights that we'll talk about, well, not the most important fights. Everyone's singular fight is the most important fight. But the ones, a hot topic that we'll talk about first is the pro fights that went on a couple of the cards as well. And let's talk about Marcin Zambala, Alexander Yankov, both picked up wins at Iúr Championships, Caoilte. Let's talk about that first scene as it happened first, and then we can move on to the other ones after that. Well, give us your thoughts on those fights. Pretty straightforward wins for both guys there, hey?
Yeah, so George Courtney actually, so sorry, Alexander Yankov and George Courtney. George stepped into this on short notice. I think his teammate, Jordan Mayers, pulled out, and he stepped in after retiring only, a month ago? MMA retirement strikes again. I know, yeah, terrible carry on, but no, he was back, and it was a great enough performance from him, but he wasn't able to get the win. I must give a lot of credit to Yankov. He surprised me now. His grappling was quite strong. It was there's massive improvements there. His striking is what really when it was on the feet, I really liked watching him strike. His leg kicks were just fantastic. You can tell all the work he's been doing in DCA is kind of paying off, and just the way he was moving, managing his range. And then even when I got to the mat, he looked dominant, and it was kind of cruise control for him. I thought it was a fairly dominant performance from him. And it was savage. So yeah, he's back in the win column, and he's 2-3 now as a pro. So
nice.
Yeah, much needed win, right? Because he was on a 2-fight losing streak, and I remember I was at was it Iúr FC where he fought Zimbala, and he was winning that fight for like the vast majority of the fight, and then he got caught in was the guillotine, I think, in the third round, and and then he had a split decision. I can't say that. Split decision loss to Scott Harvey after that. So a much needed win for Alexander.
Yeah, he looked good. And speaking of Marcin Zimbala, he was another man in the win column. Like, what a year he's having though, lads. Jesus, he's come back. What's that, 3 in a row now for him?
Yeah, it's been a great year for him. He had a tough run of it there last year, obviously. Well, it's great to see him back in, and he'll be delighted, obviously, getting the win over Roger Lopez and moves him into a winning record in 7-6 right now. So he's definitely one to be looking out for coming into 2023 for me. Anyway, Caoilte, what about you?
Yeah, for sure. Like that last performance, I think the first 2 rounds was very dominant. He wasn't exactly having the best of luck in the striking with Lopez, but then when he got it to the ground, it was all him. You could tell his kind of ground game was a level above for those first 2 rounds. But I'm not sure if the gas tank kind of started running out in that third round, because Lopez came out strong. And to be honest, Lopez could have finished that in the last round. I think he got him down. Lopez showed off a bit of his own grappling, got his back near the end as well. So yeah, it was probably a little bit tense moments in that final round for the Zimbala corner. But look, he pulled off the win, and what a big one it is for him. 5 fights this year, 4-1. Can't fault it really. Like, fair play.
Indeed. I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to flip the script live on camera here now, guys. We're on Iúr FC Championships. Let's just keep it going. Let's just keep it going on this one. We'll go in sequential order of the cards of happening. Look at Ronan Deegan versus Elvis Luco, lads. That was a great fight, wasn't it? I mean, Elvis Luco looking phenomenal coming into this, 6-0 coming into this fight, was the bantamweight champion as well. Obviously, Ronan Deegan been having a fantastic year himself as well. And Andy, I think this was a great fight, and the both guys went out and put on a great performance. I think Ronan Deegan was very dominant. I think the grappling, the advantages showed in this fight for him, secured the back and went on to secure the armbar win in round 3 there. Yeah, I'm sure you were as impressed as anyone, Andy.
Yeah, I was. I didn't know we were getting that one to there.
I saw you looking like a rabbit in headlights. I did briefly mention your name, but I said,
sorry. Yeah, no. Ronan Deegan continues to impress me. He just looks so dominant. It wasn't a completely dominant fight, but Elvis Luco has looked fantastic over the last while, and he went on this great run, beating a lot of amateurs where he kind of slipped under my radar. And for Ronan Deegan to go out there and a really solid performance and getting the win like that is just very impressive. I think he's probably had one of the best years in Irish MMA this year, especially definitely on the amateur scene. He's up there, and he kind of shows different facets to his game. Like, he's a very strong grappler, but he can strike too. And I thought that I really noticed like the swag, I guess the way to describe it, that he came out with. Like, it was just kind of a really fun entrance for both of them, where he kind of just like strutting his way to the cage, and then Luco's kind of like staring him down, like ready to kill him, comes out with a big flying knee. But yeah, like Ronan Deegan, one of the top amateurs in the country right now, and I'm expecting a big 2023 from him.
Can we just appreciate that he was fighting 20 pounds heavier than what he was fighting at against Luco, like 3 months ago? It's crazy. The guy is like, he's fought, I think, 3 weight classes this year. Like, it's just exceptional how he's kind of developing and kind of emerging as one of these top amateur prospects in the country. It's class to watch, really, like, and it just shows the level of that.
And it's great to see him just going in there and taking fights. It was very refreshing for me to hear Max Lally talk the way he was talking about getting fights at the amateur level. Like, fighters should be looking to get out there and fight, within safety, right? Obviously, you don't want to be going in against a super big guy and where you're going to have a big disadvantage when you're taking shots and stuff like that. But I think Ronan Deegan has kind of laid the platform out and what you should be doing. You can jump up and down weights, you can just test yourself, and I think he's done a fantastic job this year. And credit to him. And that's what that's what fighters at amateur should be doing. Just get in there and compete. It's all like Max Ali said. It's about that cage time. It's the most important thing that you can get, and you should be looking to try and get as much as it of cage time as you can before you turn into the professional.
And taking those hard fights, like Elvis Luco's no joke, and like he didn't steamroll him by any means, but yeah. Very impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Great fight between Tiernan Loughran and Craig McGrattan. Obviously, Tiernan came in at short notice here. Got a bit of a slow start. Rightfully, round 1 was scored a 10-8 round. I thought that was excellent judging, and I think Andrew and Paul called that perfectly at the boot as well. Tiernan kind of came back into it and used his grappling in rounds 2 and rounds 3. And yeah, I think it was a kind of a fair result in the end with the draw. What do you guys think about the result and the actual fight itself? I'll go to Caoilte first.
Yeah, it was a bit all over the place in the sense after that first round. Like I thought we were getting a finish, to be honest with you. It was chaos. Really impressive first round as well. And like the composure from Tiernan to kind of go back, get, just rest for that 1 minute, get the advice, and then come in and use his grappling and kind of just take the fight back and take those 2 rounds, limit the damage he's taken. And then I know it's only a draw, but like he was, he needed the finish if he was going to get the win. So to come back and win those final 2 rounds after being very close to being finished in the first round is so impressive. And yeah, sure, it's like no shame in the draw. I'd love to see it again. Hopefully we see it again.
Yeah, definitely. Like Andy Craig is one thing I wanted to say as well. Craig is a big featherweight. My goodness, he is a big lad at that weight, and yeah, he can crack as well. But what were your thoughts on the fight overall?
Yeah, he looked like a big boy. Hot take here, lads. I thought Tiernan Loughran won the fight. I thought that the first round was a 10-9. I'm gonna put my set out my stall there. I think that had the submission attempt at the very end been a little bit sooner, I would have been more leaning towards a 10-8, but I just don't think I can give any weight to that when it was literally at the bell. There was like a start of an attempt of a submission. So like, yeah, he got dropped, but I thought it was borderline. I thought it was a very strong 10-9, but I'm going to edge towards 10-9 rather than a 10-8. But I can see, I don't think it's a crazy thing at all to say it's a 10-8. But I'm going to say that it wasn't. I think the second round there's just nothing really happened in the second round, to be honest. I know Chris Fields was kind of yelling that he was doing damage, and I just don't think McGrattan was landing much damage at all. Like I think I thought that the dominance of Loughran's grappling won in that round, and I
think all the 3Ds were there in round 1 for me to score. You had the dominance of the round, you had the damage. Loughran was dropped, took a lot of punches, and it was Loughran didn't get off any attack all of those 3 rounds. That's why I would justify the 10-8 in round 1. Give you a chance maybe to come in, Caoilte. What's your opinion on the scoring of round 1? Like, I mean, I'm not going to die on the hill of a 10-8 or a 10-9 here. This is all. I mean, you have every right to say that, Andy, as well. Like,
no, when I was watching it, I knew the result before I watched it, and I was looking, I was thinking, where is this 10-8 round coming from? And I was, as soon as the first round started and he got dropped, I was thinking, okay, we'll see what happens here. And as it went on, I'd agree with you in that case, seeing with the scoring criteria and how with the amount of damage that was done, I thought, okay, there's a very good argument, and I would have scored a 10-8 in that case, to be honest. Like, I think the 10-8 was fair. I thought the draw was a fair result in the end. I think
10-8 wins by split decision.
I think Craig would have felt fairly hard done by if he ended up losing that after the final 2 rounds as well. So no, I'm going to agree with the judges on this one and stick with a 10-8.
Fair enough. A pity that the old title wasn't able to be crowned. It was a vacant title, wasn't it?
That's it. But you know what it does? It sets up the rematch, lads. It sets up the rematch. Yeah. Give him. I don't know. I think Tiernan did take this on. I want to say a week's notice, maybe, or 2 weeks' notice, or was it even less?
1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah,
no, 1 or 2, I think.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to see Tiernan going on a full camp. Yeah, I thought he did well. He showed some good heart to recover and get back into it, and just fight smartly too. I think with Tiernan taking the fight and putting Craig on his back was the smartest thing to do. Obviously, Craig was the bigger of the two and like when I wouldn't like to be getting hit by Craig McCracken too much either. So I think it was a wise game plan by Tiernan there. But a great fight, and the one that I'd be interested in looking at again. Another fight, and I said this to you lads as well. I watched this fight and I paused it halfway through round 1 with my excitement of how good this fight was. The super lightweight title between Conor McCarthy and Roman David. My goodness, it was high level for an amateur fight. Just round 1 and even round, you could throw that either way. I think Conor McCarthy came out in round 2, really pushed the action really well, landed the better shots, great head movement. But I didn't hear what Peter Queally or Owen Roddy must have said to him, but whatever they said worked, because he came out, didn't want to kind of get engaged in the brawls too much. I think he was a little bit more kind of steady, composed on the feet, and I think it showed in round 3 as well. Roman David came out with some big shots, but I think that McCarthy landed a huge left hook and kind of finished the round strong, which was probably enough for him to take it on the scorecards. 29-28, 29-28, and a 30-27 for McCarthy. He became the new super lightweight champion. An excellent fight. I cannot say that. If you have not seen that, go over to Iúr YouTube, check that fight out. And credit to Iúr for putting on those fights super quick, making it real easy for us to watch them and talk about them as well. So, lads, were you as excited as me watching this fight? This was a cracking fight, very high level. Two of these guys are great fighters, and I'm looking forward to seeing them both fight again.
Unbelievable. I loved it. As you're saying, just a high level amateur fight. Like, you got the striking exchanges were just exceptional, and as the rounds went on, it got better and better. I think like McCarthy made those adjustments, and he wasn't getting in firefights as such. There was a few, but he was very composed in there. I've said it before, his fight IQ is so impressive. Every time I watch him, I'm even more impressed. Roman David, then I think it's the second time I've seen him, and he looks like a solid prospect. I don't think records don't really matter. So he's been racking up experience, and I really enjoyed that. I think it's a fight I'd love to see run back again somewhere down the line. But yeah, like, the two lads have seriously high ceilings, and the potential there is just incredible. I'm really excited by that, and it kind of shows how kind of good the state of Irish amateur MMA is. To be honest with you, that fight's a perfect highlight of it.
100%. Yeah. Sorry, Andy.
Barn burner. No, you're all good. Yeah, it was just an absolute barn burner. That'll be up there, kind of one of the best fights on the amateur scene this year as well. An absolute cracker of a fight, and I think like the commentary kind of got it. They explained it very well. Like, Conor McCarthy's boxing background, I think he boxes on the DCU college team as well. But yeah, like, his boxing is fantastic. His footwork, his head movement, his defense, and I think that was probably the difference between the two of them, really, on the feet. Because Roman, I don't know if it's Roman David or what. But he cracked Conor a couple of times. Yeah. And I know at one point, I think the commentators were talking about like the big kind of lumps in each other's heads, and they're saying, oh, maybe it's a headbutt. I actually didn't see any headbutt. I just saw both of them land. It was kind of a Roman David landed a fucking flush combo, and then immediately after, Conor McCarthy absolutely cracked him as well. It's like they were throwing heavy leather and landing some serious shots on each other. And we'll talk more about Conor McCarthy when we get to Cage Legacy, and what he's doing is just he's very, very impressive right now.
Yeah, we certainly will. And just not to kind of completely look at Roman David was unlucky to get the defeat on the night, but he looked really good in defeat, and I'm really excited to see him fight a very good prospect coming out of Team KF as well. And with Conor McCarthy having the luxury of Peter Queally, having the luxury of Owen Roddy and Sergey in your corner, my goodness, there's not too many fighters that get to corner people like that, especially at amateur level. And that's like, Peter Queally was on with Sean. He was talking up Conor McCarthy, and I think that's completely justified. We'll talk about him a little bit more when we cover Cage Legacy a little bit. Caoilte, talk to me about Jess Paulo versus Paul Buckley. Was for the vacant welterweight title. Another good fight, another close fight as well.
To be honest, it wasn't the greatest fight in the world.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
We were to be like, another good fight. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, look, it was it's perfectly fine. Like, it wasn't like when we're looking at, like, I think I watched the Conor McCarthy fight and then watched that one. But look, it wasn't a barn burner, but not every fight has to be. Like, I think the positives take from it, what was done, like the grappling was very well done. I thought Paul Buckley implemented his wrestling incredible, which is like a staple of MMA Cork. Their wrestling is just fantastic. And he showed it, and he utilized it perfectly. I saw it's like when he was at the IMMAF Worlds. I've seen him in other fights. His wrestling and grappling is just exceptional, and it's like his bread and butter. So he used it very effectively. And yeah, it may not have been the barn burner that we all like, and every fight has to be. And it worked well for him.
They don't have to be. Yeah, like he did a very good job of neutralizing Jess Paulo. It was what I saw basically in that fight, and yeah.
And like we were talking about a lack of action at stages, in we kind of had a brief discussion about the fight itself, and especially in the 3-round fights, I think an extra kind of added spotlight on action where the referee can take control and call for action or split up some of the action or some of the clinching if they're not happy with the action as well. I think it goes down to the age-old argument is trying to give the judges something to judge, but I don't think it was that egregious in this fight. No, but it's something to be looked at as well. Overall, it's like especially in the 3-minute fights, it can be tough in that kind of situation as well. Looking out through the rest of the card, lads, is there any other kind of highlights that are standing out to you on the card, or anything else that we'd like to talk about before we move on? Obviously, we had Adam McEnroe and Adam Boyle, who fought for the interim lightweight championship.
Yeah, that was a good fight. So the first round, Adam McEnroe came out and dropped Boyle very early on, and he was looking very, very dominant early. Got to got the back, was looking for a rear naked choke, and then all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, Boyle kind of found himself. He swept Adam McEnroe, landed on top, and then I suppose the story of the rest of the fight was really not outright dominance, but like Boyle just did a fantastic job of recovering from that early adversity and just imposing his will and pressing the grappling action and just winning the rest of the fight really. Like I think McEnroe looked a little bit hard done by when the judges were reading the decision out, or when they were reading the judges' decision out. But I thought it was a fairly straightforward win for Boyle in the end, after coming through a tough first round.
Yeah, indeed. Your boy Dom Norcus got in there on 2-day notice as well, Andy, and picked up a win as well. Like, he's had a really impressive year. Talking about a guy who's not afraid to go in, take short notice fight every second weekend whenever. It's been a real kind of a come out year really for Dominic in 2022.
Yeah, he's just looking very impressive. Like, he's still so young. Sure, a lot of them are already, but yeah, like to start the year, I can't even keep track. How many fights has he had this year so far? A heap of them. It seems like he's fighting every 2 days, let alone taking fights in 2 days' notice. And yeah, like I think his striking is fantastic. He got caught with a good few shots in this fight, so he probably took a bit more damage. But it's kind of inevitable early on. Like there'll be points to take away to work on. But yeah, another win against Dewey Harrison, who's a tough opponent. We've seen Dewey Harrison recently. I remember in Premier FC down in Kilkenny. Coming through a barn burner of a fight there as well. So like that's a tough enough fight as well. But yeah, a solid win, and it gets the finish, gets the rear naked choke.
100%. Yeah, there's plenty more to talk about as well on that card. But we must move on, obviously enough. Unless anybody has anything else to add about the rest of the card.
I have one.
Go ahead, Caoilte.
We need to give it a shout out. Cian McCartan's flying armbar.
Yes.
Sensational. Like, unreal. You don't see them very often when they're pulled off. Absolutely, like, just beautiful to watch. Loved it. Very well done from him. Keeps, that's a bit of momentum now. 2 wins on the bounce. Fantastic from him and really impressive. So excited to see what fights he's in next.
Indeed, as am I. And we shall move on to Éire Fighting Championships, or Éire Fighting Championships. And Andy, you were there. You're in the arena. You're in the big top, as they say. The first event for Cian Cowley and that promotion as well. How did you find it? What was the atmosphere like? Please share us your thoughts. You were there to witness it live and did some great work interviewing a few of the winners as well. I
really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. there were only 4 MMA fights on this, so it was, you know, it was less of an MMA show and more of I suppose a strike or a, you know, Muay Thai boxing, K1 fights, and then a couple of grappling bouts thrown in for good measure. But yeah, I loved it. To be honest with you, I thought of the 2 events of the weekend there was way more people. It seemed like there was way more people at Éire FC. The place was packed, especially as the night went on. It seemed like almost a lot of people were like standing around the perimeter and like kind of at the entrance. There was there weren't enough seats. It was kind of bedlam there as well. There was at one point there was so many people in the VIP area that they had forgotten to have like I guess they didn't have like railings at where people walk out, so people were kind of like hopping out. Like it was just kind of chaos, but in a good way. And it seemed like a party atmosphere.
Sounds like your average regional combat sports show. Just bedlam outside.
Just a bit mad, like and like the way both events are set up is you're in this like nightclub. Like, so all the fighters are getting ready in like the nightclub of the hotel, and then you have to walk out. So then you walk outside across kind of the car park over to the big top. But yeah, like really good card. I thought that the amateur fights were brilliant. I thought that it was it was kind of a showcase event, right? Like we're not gonna the matchups for Keane and Lee, like they weren't the most competitive, but it was a really solid showcase event, and you know, it kind of worked out great for them. And look, I'm sure it's difficult putting on your first show as well. I'm now a huge Muay Thai fan as well. I thought those fights were absolutely brilliant. The one at the top of the card between Tom Kyo and Stephen O'Neill, who previously fought. No relation. Previously fought Paul Hughes, if you'll recall, back in Cage Conflict some time ago. That was an insane fight. So yeah, I kind of came away being like, I just want to talk about the Muay Thai fights. Forget about that MMA shite.
But unfortunately for you, Andy, we do have to talk about the MMA fight. So we shall talk about Cian Cowley's fight with Everton Toyazano Jr. Look at it, before the fight, a couple of fights fell out. There was a couple of late notice replacements. I think Everton came in at relatively short notice here to take on Cian. What did you think of that fight watching it live, Andy? And then maybe I'll go to Caoilte to see his thoughts watching it from the TV.
Yeah, it felt, I suppose it felt big in that I think a lot of, you know, it's Cian's show. A lot of people were there to see him. His first pro fight in the Republic of Ireland. I think, yeah, because he's fought in Belfast before. First pro fight in the Republic of Ireland. And yeah, like I thought it was a really solid performance from Cian. Like I thought he was butchering him, Everton Toniazzo Jr. With the leg kicks. And then that uppercut that he landed looked absolutely vicious.
The Russian.
Obviously, yeah, the Russian, as he told me afterwards, that he's been working on with Phil Sutcliffe and the guys in the Crumlin Boxing Gym. Yeah, a really good performance. And look, I kind of mentioned about matchups, but I don't think this is a bad matchup at all for Cian. I think, like, I remember someone online was saying something about the matchup, and Cian's in a spot in his career where he's still in that rebuilding phase. I think this is a completely fine one. I think you have to kind of scale it all back, and a really solid win. And look, now he's shown, okay, I can go in out there and finish. You know, he looked far superior on the feet. And Toniazzo Jr. immediately looked to engage the grappling, and then once it was against the cage, he just landed some elbows, and that was it. So a solid first round TKO for Cian. And yeah, it was a good performance. Obviously, you know, he's not fighting a world beater, but it's not an egregious matchup in my opinion.
Yeah, but you know, Caoilte, it's like with Cian, it's, you know, he had a couple of tough fights to start off his professional career. This is kind of like the last couple of fights, let's get back on track, and you need to do that as well. And especially, you know, he had a lot on his plate, and definitely talking to you, Andy, as well, he kind of said that, like, trying to run a show, try to concentrate on your training, you know, I mean, it can't be easy at all, but he got the job done, Caoilte, and he did it in style as well.
100%. Like, he never really got a chance to really ease himself into MMA in terms of kind of the pro ranks. He was just thrown straight to the deep end with Brave. Like, they do that though in Brave. They do throw people straight to the deep end. You get some really hard fights, and like, it's kind of, it can stunt kind of your development in the sport, or it can, you know, can have an effect on your record. So I'm perfectly fine matchup in my opinion. And yeah, it's great to see him like come back the way he has and show all these aspects of his game and gain his confidence and build that record back. It's really good. His striking, like his bread and butter, that striking, the low kicks. So like Andy was on about the Thai boxing that's going on, but King Cowley's there rolling back the ears with the leg kicks, absolutely sensational, and the elbows, like, you know. So it's yeah, absolute clinic from him, and I was delighted to see him get the win. It was fantastic, and yeah, striking clinic, my favorite. So yeah, good win for him. Not a bad matchup. Onwards and upwards.
There was a great moment afterwards as well. So when they came in the back, I was waiting for ages because Keane was one of the last ones, and yeah, it was just a lot going on, and everyone's trying to get pictures with him and all sorts of stuff. So I was waiting for ages, but he came back in, and Everton was on like FaceTime or something to his family, and so he called Keane over. So like they were kind of, it was just a nice moment of respect after the fight where Keane's like on FaceTime or whatever to like this lad. This
like, is the lad that beat me up.
I don't think he spoke a word of English either. Like. And it just being like, he was like, Keane's like, Viva Brazil, Viva, or whatever.
That's great to see. Those are the kind of stuff you don't see. So that's a great story. Yeah. That's a great story. Look, let's move on to Lee Hammond, who went in to take on Nikola Ivanovic, who took the shot to fight at really short notice here. And look at talking about matchups here, right? With Lee, he's definitely going to probably face better opposition down the line. When I look at these matchups, it's like if you go in there and you blow a guy out with the water, and he kind of did, and you don't learn any lessons. But I think with Lee in this fight, he dealt with a certain level of adversity when getting his nose cut or getting his nose broken, you know, and that's going to be a good experience for him to bring into future fights as well. And I think he did good to go overcome that, to compose himself, and to go on and get the armbar submission as well. So I think, you know, whilst he probably will face tougher opposition, and he probably tell you that himself as well, all credit to Nikola Ivanovic for going in and taking this fight. There's not too many that would have. And, you know, Lee had to take it at short notice as well, but he ticked off a few boxes there, Caoilte, in that win as well. And he did have to come over a certain level of adversity as well in getting his nose smashed.
Like, records aside, a fight's a fight. It's not like we see cases in obviously certain countries where they're literally people can't strike or anything, but like Ivanovic, he's tough as nails. Like, you know, credit where it's due to him, especially taking the fight in short notice, weight division above what he usually fights at. He's tough out, and he can hit. You know, that's it. He can throw some strikes, and he can hang in there. But and as we saw with Lee, so you know, he gets a little bit of adversity, and it shows the danger. It's a big risk as well, going against a lad who could do something like that to you. Let's say that went to a second round and the nose got worse and worse, and there was a doctor stoppage. That's
100%.
It's awful. Like, so, you know, you can't take too much. You can't take much away from Lee, especially because it's short notice opponent. But yeah, it's what I guess is what we expect at the same time in terms of the end result outside of the adversity, because you put on that grappling clinic, and that's what he's known for. His grappling is just so good. And yeah, look, it's another win the record, very active year for him. And next year, I think next year is going to be a huge year for Lee. I'm very high on Lee. I think he's going to have a really good career.
Oh, 100%. I'm the same, and I'm sure you're the same as well, Andy. You got to speak with him after the fight as well. It was a very good interview that you did with him. What kind of vibe did you get off Lee after that fight? You know, he's not a guy who puts himself out there all of that much. It's always great to get the opportunity to hear him talk about, you know, him fighting and what stuff is going on outside of the cage with him as well. But he'll have to be pleased with that win. Even though look at he did get his nose cut and stuff like that, but like tremendously good year for Lee Hammond. This was his real breakout year in the professional ranks, and to be finishing the end of the year at 5-0 is really good. And as Caoilte says, it sets up a big 2023 for Lee Hammond.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's how he came across it. He was very, very frustrated about the nose, understandably. You know, to go in there, and to me, it looked like a jiu-jitsu seminar against Ivanovic. Like it was dominant, very, very dominant. And then it was like that one shot, that kind of Ivanovic's one moment is where he lands a big shot from up top. When, as Lee said himself, he was focusing. He was kind of thinking a step ahead when he should have been, you know, watching the danger. And
those are the lessons that you need to learn that I was talking about as well, and him getting to experience that is going to help him in future fights, I think.
Yeah. And look, I agree with everything you guys are saying there about, I think Lee has a tremendously high ceiling. I think he's one of the best prospects in the country. I think he's shown that, and that's why, like, when you look at a matchup like this, like, Lee shouldn't be fighting a guy like a Nikola Ivanovic, and it's nothing against Ivanovic, but you also need to consider the context here. Like, it's not like this fight was booked 8 weeks out and it was built up. It got to a point where, by the sounds of things, they'd had about 4 different changes of opponents. It was a case of, is Lee going to fight or not? And it was, get anyone, we need someone here to fight. So that's just the way it was. Credit to Ivanovic for taking the fight. He was booked against Dylan Tuke. He was booked against, like, he's getting booked against these absolute killers. So fair play to him. But Lee is good enough to be fighting on the best promotions in Europe right now. So, like, he talked afterwards, it just makes it a little bit difficult. So, like, I think Lee has a very high ceiling, and he's talking about wanting to go to the UFC, and not just wanting to get to the UFC, but compete and succeed in the UFC. And he talked in the interview about wanting UFC next, and I didn't want to press it in the interview, but my personal opinion is, like, I just don't think you get signed to the UFC off a win against an opponent like that. I think you need to.
What about Dean Barry? Dean Barry got signed based off his win.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's that's the counter. That's the counter argument.
There's a level of kind of competitor. Like, the UFC right now is in a weird situation where, a lot of the talent is being spread across a lot of the top promotions, where the UFC isn't the pinnacle. And I'm seeing guys fighting in the UFC, especially in the lightweight division, that I'd be very confident that Lee Hammond would be able to go in there and handle at this stage. I absolutely get your point, though, Andy. It's like, it's a win against Nikola Ivanovic is not going to be the same as a win for per se that Paul Hughes got against someone like Vucenic. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that extra sparkle on top of it. But I mean, I definitely,
it's just not the same test. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's nothing. It's not even a knock on Lee. It's just, it's just not the same test. Like, I would like to see Lee, if he can do it again, like, do another 1-fight deal with Bellator and fight in the 3 Arena in February against whoever. Get a decent opponent and go in there and have another showcase performance in front of 10,000 screaming fans, and build that that aura and that excitement and all that stuff, because there is excitement about Lee. Like, I think he is UFC bound in time.
Yeah, I think
his nose is all right as well.
Yeah,
it is broken,
that's it. Yeah, I think that we wish him a speedy recovery with his nose. What do you think, Caoilte, about the whole, if he should sign with the UFC, if the UFC would want to sign him? I mean, you take a look at the guys that he's beaten before Nikola, and you have a guy on his debut, beat a 4-0 guy on his debut, then a 2-0, then a 2-1, and then a 6-0. So, I mean, there are guys in the UFC, because I do the UFC preview show where I'm watching guys, and there are guys coming in that have beaten guys on worse records than what Lee's fought as well. So I don't think, like, I definitely understand, and I think it would add more hype to the situation, but I'm not necessarily sure Lee is too bothered about creating any hype.
Yeah.
I think if you get signed up, you go in and you perform in the UFC, that hype will kind of naturally grow anyway. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on everything, Caoilte.
Yeah, well, like, if he went in, I guess the opponent makes a difference here. If he had that Georgie fella, I think that could have been one of those fights that could have launched him into the contention, because we would have seen him against what would arguably been probably would have been a much higher test. Yeah, it's weird. I think Contender Series would probably be best route given the record, but maybe, like, I know he wants it. Maybe there's no need to rush it either. He's got plenty of time to build the record even further and get some higher tests, and then go on a tear. But money's king as well. Like, cash is king, Paddy Hoolan. Like, if he goes into, like, UFC and gets there early, he gets paid, gets looked after quite well, like, compared to what other promotions would. So I could see why he wants to go there straight away. Maybe straight into the UFC, I'm not too sure just yet. Maybe one test, 2 tests away. Contender Series, yeah, I think sign up for Contender Series. Look at just give an example it's outside of Irish MMA. Look at Raul Rosas Jr. He's fighting this weekend. He's got all this. He's young, everything going for him. But he fought before his Contender Series bout. He fought absolutely no one. Let's be real. And before that, his amateur career was youth fights and 2 amateur fights. So, and he got signed. So I could see the argument of putting him into contender series and going that route. I think that would be a very good route.
I would tend to agree. Like, I mean, if I had a gun to my head right now and was asked to choose, I would probably say what you guys are saying is that it might not come next for him. He might need another one like that. But
I don't think it comes next. And it's nothing against Lee. My question is more so, and it's not an opinion. It's more of a question. Like, does he need, when he's very, from speaking to Lee, he's very, very acutely aware or very focused on skill development. Like, and in between fights, it's like he doesn't engage in social media bullshit. He just goes off and trains his arse off and gets better. And he's talking about, I want to be ready to hit the ground running, to compete with the best in the world. So but the question that I have is, do you not, if you're going to do that, do you just be so confident in your own skill set, or do you actually face, better competition before getting there, so that right, this is the level that I'm at against this level of competition, and now I know, right, I'm ready to, like, I'm ready for whatever comes my way in the UFC.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not wrong in saying that, Andy, at all, in the slightest. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. And it's just very exciting that we're in a position where we can kind of have a conversation like this about Lee. It's we're very lucky, and the scene is absolutely buzzing. And Lee is, like you said, and I would agree, one of the top prospects in the country right now. And he's going to have a massive 2023, and I'm looking forward to watching along and seeing his progress. Andy, there was 2 amateur fights on the card. I'm going to let you kind of give us a briefing on 2 of them. Senan Coakley took on Tristan Barnett, got a great armbar win. Kieran Smullen also picked up a win over Kaya O'Brien. You had the chance to watch these live. You had the chance to talk to these 2 gentlemen after the fight as well. Please share your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll start with Kieran Smullen. So this is Kieran Smullen, is the younger brother of Richie Smullen. So it was his MMA debut, as it was for Kaya O'Brien of SBG Cork City. It was a really, really fun fight while it lasted. They both came out swinging a light heavyweight fight. So anytime there's lads of that size trading heavy leather, it's always entertaining. They both, really went for it from the start. Smullen managed to get the takedown, and he looked like he was kind of trying to pass into mount and go for a guillotine. In the end, he kind of he let go of that, and as he said to me, he was right there in his corner with Richie Smullen and John Cavan in his corner, and they were just directing him from there. And from there, it was some heavy shots and the TKO finish. So a dream start, I suppose, for his MMA career. Seems like a lovely lad, very, like Richie, a quiet guy. He's one of those guys where, like, just seems like a nice fella, but yeah, like, you're kind of trying to pull teeth a little bit in the interview, but we had a bit of crack anyway, and we chatted about his Christmas dinner and
mad for turkey in the Southern household. I wouldn't like to be fucking on that dinner day. I've been looking for a bit of turkey anyway. I'd be like, go ahead, boys, I'll take whatever's left over.
Yeah. The disrespect did not even help with the washing up as well. I thought that was terrible form. Poor old Richie. I wonder, would they be having chicken fingers for dinner though?
Apparently that's it. Not. Maybe no. They have to have, like, they have the turkey for the dinner, and then maybe they might substitute the turkey sandwiches later on for a bit of chicken dippers or something like that. We'll see.
Jeez, I'd love that. I might get that myself.
Senan Coakley is another one that I'd love to talk about. I thought he had a fantastic win and gave a fantastic interview. I think that guy has
just bouncing a seat here.
Yeah, that guy has the it factor. And maybe if Andy, if you don't mind, I might bring Caoilte in to talk about Senan, because
#Caoilte was right.
He was talking Senan Coakley up for the longest time, and my goodness, Caoilte, you're spot on.
He's not just a striker. Look, what a performance. Tough test. When I saw this got made last minute, like, as I think they put it on Instagram, when one door closes, another one opens, and you get this fight. And wow, fair play to both. They're 2 lovely lads, really good strikers and great fighters as well. So Senan Coakley going in there and getting that done. It's what, 4 on the trot now for him, and getting a submission win as well to prove any doubters wrong about his grappling or anything like that. He's really showing all aspects of his game now, and fair play for Tristan for taking it as well. Like, it's a great fight. It was a great fight. So fair play to both lads, and there's a very exciting future for both. But Senan really looking looking good going into next year. Andy, you had a great interview with Afton. Jesus, he was fantastic. He's on great form.
It was brilliant, Andy. What were the feelings coming from that interview? I know that you were very excited telling us, after it directly happened, and rightly so. It was a great interview. What are your thoughts on his performance, and then maybe his mindset for such a young man, and your thoughts on his future as well?
Yeah, like I think his comfort level, that's what really kind of his confidence, as he said, he's confident, not cocky. And I think it's true, like from his walk out to the cage, and it was just him like when Tristan Barnett was walking to the cage, and there was some sort of technical error or something. I don't know if it was a song or what, but they were kind of holding him from going in yet. And Senna's just standing there in the middle, just eyeballing him. And like, you can't really, sometimes you can tell when it's forced or when it's put on or it's a fake confidence. It just didn't seem that way to me. And he just looked very comfortable. I thought it was like a really, it was a nip and tuck fight on the feet. Initially, I thought that Tristan Barnett, as long as the fight went, he put up a decent fight. But yeah, like I just think Senan Coakley is very, 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 very good at fighting. I think his striking is top tier on the amateur scene, and he's showing. He obviously came up striking, but like the work he's doing with Team Rhino, he can grapple too. He got the sub, and yeah, like you can't really. It's difficult to do interviews, right? Like it's daunting, and especially when you're an amateur. Like most amateurs, to be honest, are terrified of doing interviews, from what I can see, because it's completely foreign to them. This lad, like, it's as if I wasn't even there. Like it's as if I was there. He was answering every single question, but like he was having a moment with the camera. Like he was, yeah, you can't fake that. There's something about him. He has, as you said, he's only 18. Yeah.
It's that star quality.
I don't want to label anything, but he's got something.
He definitely does.
And he's authentic. And to speak, the thing, if I could give a piece of advice to fighters in Ireland or anywhere, is just be authentic. Like when you're doing an interview or something like that, so many are kind of worried about how they're going to be perceived, and that's all they can think about is the image that they are putting out there. Where the reality is, people connect with authenticity, and Senan, he wasn't kind of giving it the big one, but at the same time, he was kind of giving it the big one from a confident perspective, being like, he was just speaking his truth. Like, this is my cage. Like, I'm coming for everyone. Like, I'm coming for everyone. And I believe that fully. But then on the other hand, he can be vulnerable and show, I lost my uncle and this is really affecting me and I'm going to cry right now. And I don't care because this is just me. That's what people relate to. And yeah, so be like that. Just don't be afraid to show yourself. Would be the advice I'd give. I don't know why I'm after giving advice there, but I have.
There you are now. A little bit of a TED talk there from Andy Stevenson as well. I know, but it was very well said. I'm only joking. I'm only calling it Andy. No, I agree with what you said. Authenticity is a big thing, and it's something that everyone can relate to. And that kind of wraps us up for Éire Fighting Championships. Very good first card. Obviously, you look at lots of entertaining Muay Thai fights, as the lad said as well. We must move on to Cage Legacy 18, and we'll talk about that card next. And it was a really good card from start to finish, lads, I have to say. As was Iúr, as was Éire. We were really spoiled for action over the last 2 weeks now. And the amateur fights, Michael Conley picked up a first round submission. Denis Ivanovic picked up a very good win. TKO, brother of Nikola Ivanovic, I believe, who's recently moved over to Ireland as well, picked up a good win. And all the amateur fights on the undercard, we had a 7-second knockout from Jack Newman. A couple of questions about the stoppage. I seen comments online today. We did post a video on SevereMMA Insta saying it was a little bit quick. And you mentioned it as well, Caoilte, just in a private message with the argument. Maybe it was a little bit too quick. And while I can understand that argument, I think that Michael Pilo was hurt for a brief moment. And I think if you're hurt for a brief moment in amateurs, I think you should be looking to live to try and fight another day. And I think the referee did an excellent job to kind of step in and kind of force that kind of scenario in the end. how are you feeling about the stoppage now, Caoilte? Are you more comfortable with the stoppage, or you'd like to see a fight like that go on maybe a little bit longer?
It's amateur. I have no issue with amateur. Like if it was pro, I'd be, if it was pro now, I'd give up.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, me too for sure. Yeah.
Look at amateur. It's you gotta protect. You gotta protect your fighters like as well. And I can completely see the argument for stopping it, and I can make an argument for keeping it going as well. Like, so I'm on the fence. I'm not pushed either way, but. Yeah, look, could have seen it go on for a few seconds, but at the same time, you never know what's going to happen those few seconds either. But he did look a little bit with it. So he looked like he would have to come into his senses a little bit, didn't look out or anything. So that would have been the argument I would have had for leaving it go on. But look, safety's key. Your brain means, you need your brain. You need, like, your health is key as well. So look, move on to another day. Perfectly fine stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, amateur debut, I think he learned the lessons, and I don't think when I'm looking at stoppages like that, and I think the biggest talking one, I guess, in recent memories was probably Israel Adesanya's stoppage when Alex Bahia finished him, and I thought that was a perfect stoppage as well, because, I don't think of what's happening right now. I think about what could happen if the fight doesn't stop, and you can only, one shot can change it. All right, that's a standing TKO. There's nothing saying that Jack Newman wouldn't have landed another big shot. Maybe he wouldn't have, but if he did, I just don't like
all if buts and maybes. Like,
that's it. I think Aaron on the side of caution, especially on the amateur side of things, is probably the best move here, isn't it?
Yeah, I was happy with the stoppage. I think it was the way he had taken a good few shots first, and he dropped to a knee, and then he came back up and he got caught with a big uppercut or a hook, whatever it was. And it was the way he kind of went limp as he fell back, obviously recovered. But that was a good stoppage to me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well. Dara Ward picked up another good TKO ground and pound stoppage in round 2. Lads, Jake and Guy, the Tarico Plata, Barra Plata was officially announced as I'm going to go with
viral sensation, Jake Nye.
That was serious. I thought, I was like, watch the video. What happened is I was watching it on the live stream. I saw this, and then I immediately texted lads. I was like, I'm after seeing. I didn't even know what I was after seeing. And we have to say credit to Paul Brown, who absolutely nailed the call. Fantastic job, and he's been getting credited online as well for that. He did a phenomenal job in calling that. It was just a sensational submission, lads, wasn't it? I mean, I've watched quite a few fights in my time, and I've not seen anything like that. And that's the beautiful thing about mixed martial arts, is that it's ever progressing, it's ever evolving, and time again, we're going to see beautiful moments like this where we see something new that's going to blow our socks off. And I think Jake and Guy did a fantastic job to wrap that up and get the finish as well. It was really impressive, wasn't it, lads?
Oh, incredible. Like, I had no idea what it was. I had to go back and ask him backstage after, and he was like, it's basically like a Kimura, but with you use your legs. And I was like, oh, okay. that I guess that's an easier way of putting it. But yeah, like, I had no clue what was going on. But yeah, incredible. Is he this I don't know if it's this generation, because they're probably the same generation, but like this like half generation's Carl McNally. Well, the way on the amateur scene he was coming up doing loads of mad stuff.
Yeah, I just think it's just basically down to the natural evolution of mixed martial arts, I think. And, it's great that we're seeing a young Irish amateur prospect that's pulling off fucking wizardy shit like this.
And apparently, so it's, now I had to Google this just now. So the Tariqa Plata is by Tarek Hopstock. So I didn't know this guy's name, but apparently he's been over in Ireland doing seminars, and so like loads of them have been like drilling it and stuff.
Andrew McGahan actually tagged him in our post on SevereMMA Instagram, tagged him, and he responded back saying it was brilliant. So like Jake has been getting all the plaudits from him in particular as well. And I think I even seen Paul saying that he was actually drilling it. He was drilling that, with Shauna. I think that's how,
it was with Shauna and Paddy in Hula and martial arts.
Yeah, so it was fresh in his mind as well. So it was just like it came together really, really well, and that was fantastic to see. It's great to see moments like that. Like, I mean, we've seen kind of viral, crazy submissions too, but when it's close to home, I think it makes it that extra bit special as well. So fair play to Jake, and look at on top of everything else, looks like another fantastic prospect, Caoilte, as well, that we should be looking out towards. Only 19 years of age. He looked good at the Nationals last year as well, and I'm sure he'll have a big 2023 as well, hey?
100%. Like, he was at the Euros as well. And I think I said at the Euros, when it gets to the ground, he's smooth like butter. It's incredible. Really, really good. You don't see many kind of fighters coming out of Satori either. So he's kind of like leading the way almost in a bit. And look, he's only 19. No need for too much pressure on him either. But wow, fair play to him. Like, to pull stuff like that off so early and so in his career, it's great to see. Another lad with a high ceiling and a really good prospect to keep an eye on. So next year, hopefully see him at the World Championships and see him getting a few more regional fights as well, and just see him progress further and further. It's great to watch.
Indeed, it is fantastic to watch. Andy, Georgi Grozav versus Flobiter Ferres. Jeez, that's two mouthfuls.
I'm not laughing. I thought you were about to say someone else there. We're burying the lead here, lads. Cadet sensation Georgie Pearce. Bellator's future superstar, Georgie Pearce.
Yeah, fucking fair play. Yeah, fair play to him. He's not shy. He's another guy that's not shy. I didn't know whether there was a half of a piss take, but it was more so trying to balance being serious.
I didn't know either.
It's like, well, whatever. He got his plaudits from Scott Coker anyway, so I guess job done. Anyway. Scott Coker.
Scott Coker. Did you see how Scott Coker, when he responded, he like tried to make the joke back and call him like Georgie Piercy, but then he actually just fucked up his name as well and called him Gregory Piercy.
Oh, stop! Yeah, I didn't get to see that. No, but we'll move on to another Georgie then, shall we? Yes, Georgi Grozav versus Flobiter Ferres. That was a grueling fight, Andy, wasn't it? That was a serious back and forth. And I was really impressed by both guys. Obviously, Georgie went on to take the unanimous decision 29-28. Probably a fair result in reflection, looking back at the majority of the fight. Would you tend to agree?
Yeah, to be honest, I thought at the fight, and I haven't watched it back either, I thought it was very, very close. I thought the first round was like very clear Flobiter Ferres round. Like, I thought he looked brilliant. I was really, really impressed with how he looked in that first round. I thought he was looking great on the feet. He was fighting smart, dominated the first round, clear 10-9. The second round was that was the round that swung it for me, or was the swing round, because I thought Ferres did some good work, but I think it was those big slam takedowns from Grozav that probably sealed the deal for him in that round, I would say. And like, for him to kind of come through the adversity of that first round, where I was thinking there could be a finish there for Ferres, for him to come back, really came out with a strong performance, and then to build on that in the third round, I thought, and that was his strongest round. I thought he almost had Ferres out of there in the third round. A very impressive performance. I think that's a few in a row now for Grozav. So and we'll talk about Shauna later on, but 2 belts for Hula Martial Arts on the night. Nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, definitely not. Moving on, Caoilte, we'll talk about our good friend Conor McCarthy again, who came back 1 week after that defeat of Roman David. And I mean, Jesus, lads, he looked unbelievable in this fight again. When we're talking about prospects here, there's plenty of prospects that are coming up in Ireland right now, but Conor McCarthy is in the upper echelon of that list, I have to say, coming in here against Shea Leatham. And, while there was spells that Roman David had success against Conor McCarthy, it can't be said about Shea Leatham. I think that Conor McCarthy approached this excellently and was in complete control from first bell until final bell, really, too, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. To do that, and like, you got to keep in mind, that was a tough fight, literally 1 week prior.
Really tough fight.
Well, 7-8 days? So like, to have a really tough fight, then go and do 3 more rounds with another tough opponent a week later and get another belt, fair dues. Like, it was impressive, and he's becoming one of those top amateur prospects now. And like, this year alone, he's had 7 fights this year. So I imagine he's finished now. I don't think he'll be having any more before Christmas. But he says 7 fights. I think he's won 5, lost 2 now. One was a bit of a questionable decision. The other got submitted. But my God, he's really flourished this year and kind of emerged as one of these top amateur prospects for us to be keeping an eye on. And SBG and Ace are really coming up, aren't they? It's great to see. Like,
it's fantastic to see. Yeah, they've got a great setup down there. And Andy, the SevereMMA yearly awards are coming up soon, and you know, definitely Conor McCarthy is going to be a name that'll be on the Amateur of the Year nominations list for sure, and he'll have a fair crack at even kind of winning it as well. Obviously, he'll be in good company as well with other great amateurs as well. But truly impressive stuff from Conor McCarthy, and a fantastic way to round off 22, and exciting 2023 ahead for him as well.
Absolutely. Like, he's a guy whose name keeps coming up. Like, I feel like since the early days of his amateur career, we were kind of looking at this guy thinking, wow, like he's one to keep an eye on. And, you know, we saw him, he had that fight at the Nationals last year where there was kind of the contentious decision where Colin Maher was given out to us for kind of talk big enough Conor McCarthy. But like, he just, he keeps improving. His hands are so good. And I thought he just looked so dominant in this fight, like in every area, picking up Shea Latham and walking him across to the other side of the cage.
Shea is a big guy as well. He's a big guy.
Yeah, and like, so where I was right beside this section of fans that were Shea Latham fans, and like at one point they were like, he's getting tired, and I was just thinking, I was like, this is. I hate to break it to you lads, but he does not look like he's tiring here, and he looks like he's even putting on more of a pace as the fight is going on. Just a supremely impressive performance, and he's just a lovely lad as well, which is always nice. I like it's nice when nice people are succeeding. So he seems like a nice guy.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. Another win by submission from Ryan Keogh as well, Caoilte. And I thought that was a very, very impressive performance against another durable guy in Alex Josan as well, where you're impressed with Ryan Keogh and the way he got the job done, picking up the featherweight championship, retaining it really.
Oh, I was indeed. Can't beat an Auld Triangle choke, lads. You know, I live for him at this point now. So
I tried to set you up. I'm glad you took it.
Look, he's had a tough year. This is his third fight of the year. He lost his previous two against, I think, one against Iúr at the IMMAF in the Worlds, and that was a very, very tough fight. And then went in against Keith Keogh, but he's really come back strong, and that was fantastic. He looked sensational. It was a good fight, really good fight. I enjoyed watching it, and to finish it off with an Auld Triangle choke, absolutely, I was buzzing. Like, fair play to him. So excited to see him next year. Don't know if he's going to be doing IMMAF, so he'll just be competing regionally. But either way, I'll be tuning in and watching, because I think I said it before too on another podcast with Sean. I'm a fan. He's a very good prospect, fantastic grappler.
And indeed, we might have to maybe the next episode, maybe the one after that, we might have to get maybe all the triangle chokes and.
I have a list.
You have a list. Oh, yeah. That's what we're definitely going to do that next episode.
That'll be the Christmas special.
Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, yeah, triangle Christmas special. Max Lally.
Sorry, just to jump back, we forgot one thing. Following the Conor McCarthy fight, Conor McCarthy versus Senan Coakley, early 2023. It seems.
That would be.
They've agreed to have an L scrap now. That is a fight.
Definitely is. Moving on to the co-main event was the return of Max Lally, who joined us a couple of weeks back on the Auld Triangle. It was great to see Max back in there again. And whilst, you know, the fight itself wasn't that competitive, Gerard McDonough went in there, did his best, but it's difficult to fight a guy at Max's level. He is a sensational fighter, even at this early stage. He's got everything going on for him, and I think for Max, lads, and I'm wondering if you'll agree, and I'm sure that you will, is like, I think the battle to get into that cage was the biggest battle that and the biggest fight that Max Lally faced in 2022. And he did it so well, and he went out there and he got the first round submission and looked good doing so. But it'll be a huge sigh of relief for him to be back in action. You know, he talked about it himself when he was on with us, how frustrating it is for him. You know, fighters want to fight, not being able to do it, being patient as well, and not coming back too soon is a huge thing in mixed martial arts as well. And Max went in there, got the job done, and you know, what was a tough start to 2022 for Max ended in a very good finish to 2022, and it was great to see. Andy, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I agree with what you said there, and I think there's also the other element of the challenge of getting into the cage as well is there's a lot of pressure on Max, and I think he talked a little bit about that, but like I think there's probably a lot of mental pressure coming in here when you've been out for so long, when you're coming back for an injury, where you're going into a place where a lot of people have been talking you up as this kind of up and coming amateur. There's the pressure of that. There's the pressure of you've sold however many tickets to all your mates. Like there seemed to be a big crew there for him. And yeah, like as you said, like once the fight started, I think he was absolutely levels above Gerald McDonough. I thought it was an easy, not to say an easy night in the office, but an easy night in the office for him. It's not easy, but he looked comfortable in there. And yeah, like I think it was probably just a case of blowing off the cobwebs. And now he gets to enjoy his Christmas off to Thailand and then come back, and we'll see what's in store for him in 2023.
It'd be a big one. Caoilte, what path would you like to see Max Ali take in 2023? I think at this stage the world is his oyster. Has no plans to go to professional ranks. He said that time and time again, and there's no rush in getting him to the professional ranks either. I think, having been so inactive this year, I think he's going to be in a position where he'll want to be fighting on a regular basis in 2023 and kind of that's what he said to you, Andy, in the interview, was getting that in-cage experience, which is very, very important. What path do you think he's going to follow in 2023 and how do you think it's going to work out?
Honestly, with him going to Thailand, it'd be very cool if he could. So Thailand, there's now a few MMA shows happening over there. There's I think one are actually doing one in the Lumpney Stadium, which is insane. So I think now that there's some MMA fights happening over there, while he's over there, it'd be absolutely deadly if he could have one of the Hickman brothers in his corner training at a Bang Tower, one of those gyms, and just getting some experience abroad as well. Because there's loads of fighters go to Thailand nowadays, and
yeah, I was lucky enough in February 2020 to do 2 sessions in Tiger Muay Thai, and the setup that they have there makes it impossible for you not to be engrossed in training. You have the little dorms at the back there. You can come out and do your morning sessions. You can do your strength and conditioning sessions. It's just it's the perfect camp setup, and then the conditions as well. With the heat and everything like that. I just like, when you hear about everybody going over to Tiger Muay Thai or over to Thailand in general, it's like Muay Thai and fighting is a culture over there. They live and they breathe it over there. You can go and watch Muay Thai fights every single day of the week. And like you said, now they're introducing mixed martial arts. So I love seeing fighters making the jump. You're moving away, you're going outside of your comfort zone and you're immersing yourself in your training. And that when you do that, that's going to bring up your skill level, something serious. Like, would you agree, Caoilte?
Oh, 100%. Like the amount of bodies out there is just crazy. I was chatting to Reo Yamaguchi recently, and he was telling me how he was in camp with, that had to slip my mind. It's one of the guys who fought for the One Championship title recently, and he was an integral part of his camp. This is a lad who's only an amateur, and he was an integral part of that camp. And that's very common over there. So to have that is just sensational because it's really important. So to go back to Max, if he was to be able to get a fight while out there, that'd be great. It'd be a great experience as well. Just to, there's no pressure either because you don't have the home fans. You don't have any of that. Just go out, enjoy yourself, get some time. I think that would be cool. I'd love to see him at the IMMAF Worlds again. I know last time he got the win and then the shoulder, but I'd love to see him at the Worlds. I think he'd be one of the top ones to watch if he was to enter the junior ranks again. I would fancy him to potentially go all the way. Who knows? That's where some of the toughest tests are. You get a lot of cage time in a small amount of time. It's a great experience. And I think he'd thrive because as he said, he wants the hard fights. He wants to get the lessons, different looks. And I think that'd be a perfect opportunity. And then a few back home as well. But I guess we got to see. I'm excited.
Yeah, we do. Like looking at, do you know that the guy who got the real quick, looked like a soccer kick, but it was legit. Was it
Nori?
Yeah, Darchowska.
Yeah. I seen him over there, and he's actually getting work with fucking Peter Yan over there and everything. Like, so, like, even to get the chance to move around with people like that, and you have the who's going in there to Tiger Muay Thai as well. So great for Max. I'll be looking forward to seeing what he brings back out of Thailand as well. And look, we're talking about big 2022s, and Shauna Bannon had a massive 2022. She just roared into the professional scene. And look, she capped off her 2022 with a good win against Kerry Isom again by unanimous decision. There's lots to talk about. In this fight. I'm going to roll up the sleeves here. Look at the fight itself was a grueling fight. I would say, and Shauna admitted it herself, it was a tough camp, and it kind of looked like when she was competing there, it was not her best performance. But you know what? Getting in there and proving to yourself that you can go in there and win and perform at a relatively good level after a bad camp is something that Shauna Bannon knows about herself right now. And it's going to be hard coming in. Kerry Isom is as tough as nails, lads. And and I think you said it excellently, Andy. It's very hard to kind of go in there and kind of top a performance when you go out there and get a finish in the first fight. But you know what? Shauna did it. And I think she wanted to fight. There was a little bit of negative vibes around this fight about fighting the same opponent, it being step back, and somewhat fair arguments. But I think the kind of truth came out in the end is that she just wanted to fight. She wanted to compete, and you can't blame her for that. And there's not too many people who are going to be stepping up to want to take on Shauna Bannon at this stage as well. But not an easy thing to do. She went in there, she got the job done, and she capped off a fantastic 2022, Andy, didn't she?
Yeah, and like there's ways you can look at this. Like if you go in and just kind of say, okay, well, she fought Kerry Isom the first time, she finished her, she fought her this time, she went to decision. That's what's the opposite of progress? Yeah, progression,
regress.
Yeah, but like you do have to consider the fact that she's talking about she had a terrible camp, all this stuff, and Kerry Isom, like she's just tough. Like she's tough. I think that what you can also say is that, like, to come through, as you said, like to come through a fight like that where maybe it's just it's an off night, maybe it's a bad camp, whatever it may be, and still go out there and like really dominated.
She never looked in trouble at all.
Really. Like it was like Kerry put up a great fight, but like Shauna was winning that fight throughout. Like Kerry had her moments, but each round Shauna won. If you're having a performance like that, you're also better off. Like Shauna's very early, you're young in her pro career still, so you're better off having that performance on like the Irish regional scene rather than maybe it's the biggest fight of your life next on Invicta or whatever that may be. To get a fight like that out of the way. To I don't know what the issues were in their camp. It sounded like it was a bit of both physical and mental. So who knows? But hopefully she can address whatever it is there and come back stronger. And yeah, like it was at the end of the day, there wasn't a higher like real finish. It probably wasn't. It wasn't her best performance, but she still went out there and got the win and didn't look in trouble really at all.
I mean, we were talking about in-cage experience and how valuable it is. The way I kind of like to look at that is, what do you get out of that fight? And what, like I said with Shauna, what she got out of that fight was confidence in her ability, knowing that if she doesn't have a good camp, she can still go out there and perform and win. Like she never was in trouble. Another thing she learned is that she got clipped and she got a little bit dazzled in round 3 as well, and those are experiences and fights that you have to get used to as well. And she got to experience that in there as well, but she composed herself. She closed the distance, got into the clinch against the cage, recovered, and then went back at it again. You're not going to find out those questions about yourself unless you have the cage time. So all of that is very, very valuable, Caoilte. And, she could be very proud of herself for what she's achieved in 2022 after overcoming the hurdles that she's got through as well. It's just been a really, in my opinion, one of the best stories coming out of Irish MMA this year so far. And I've been really enjoying watching her progress, and I cannot wait to see what's next in 2023. We will talk about what possibly will be next in 2023. We definitely will, but maybe your thoughts quickly on her, on the performance and maybe her year in 2022 overall.
Look, for the year in general, I was at the two pro fights before that were in Ireland before this one, and like you just see there's something about Shauna. It's like the stardom about her, and you can see that she could go all the way up to the UFC, and it seems though she's going that way, and it's like the signs are all really positive and really good. And the performance, it was the first 2 rounds, didn't really look in trouble at all. It was dominating. It was very much one-way traffic, but didn't always have it her own way. Like the final round got clipped, but you learn from these, and you take different things from all these different fights. So either way, very good. It was maybe not our best performance, but still a very good performance. She got the win, stays undefeated, and now it lines up a massive 2023. And like what we could see is just, I don't know, incredible, really. And
what we
No,
go ahead, Andy.
No, the only thing I was just going to touch on before we move on is that she also just seemed relieved after the fight. Like it's like she kind of basically said it that she, you know, she's glad it's over. She's glad she could just kind of forget about fighting now for a bit, just to unwind and kind of decompress. So there probably was a lot of pressure on her, and you know, yeah, it seemed like she was just under a lot of pressure. So yeah, fair play to her. Hopefully she can, you know, reset, go back in 2023 and fight someone. So who might she fight?
Let's talk about what is next, because all the talk is Danny McCormick. Shauna wants it. It seems that Invicta wants
I want it.
I want it. Caoilte wants it. Andy wants it. Everybody. It's like it's a fight that really, really gets the fires stoked in me. I just cannot wait. The thoughts of the potential of it, right? So I have a couple of thoughts on the fight I would love to see. I feel that if you want to try and give it the biggest potential possible, I would love to see that fight for the Invicta title some way. Now, how do we get there? I know Shauna wants to fight Danny next. Danny has been keeping quiet on the whole subject. You know, she's keeping her cards close to her chest. I wouldn't be too angry with this scenario, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. What happens if we get Danny fighting for the belt in early January? If she was to get the job done, then you could have her defend the title against Shauna Bannon. I think for the title, it would add that extra it factor to the fight and make it extra special. But, you know, it's great to see two women fighting at the top level and two strawweights fighting at the highest level in Invicta as well, and even working themselves into an opportunity where they're talking title fights and talking. Unfortunately, if they do fight, one of the women would have to lose. They'd be Danny or Shauna, and that's the sad thing. But by God, this matchup, just talking about a matchup style versus style alone, is a serious matchup. Andy, I know you're buzzing for this as well. And
let's do it. Let's do it.
Will this into existence.
Listen. This fight was, they were trying to make this fight for Cage Legacy previously. This is a fight that's been in the works for a while. They both want this fight. I know they both want this fight, and it has to happen. And I was kind of thinking the same as you, Ian, where it's like you want this for a title, but at the same time, I think strike while the iron's hot here, and you can't really control, like there's too many moving pieces to try and make it happen for the title. So I don't know. Look, if we could get it for the title, great. Would either of them go directly into a title shot next? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough yet with Invicta and that division as to know, could one of them just be put directly into a title shot, or would it be a case that they'd both have to, you know, have a fight and then a title shot, and then, you know, there's a lot of
Danny. My thinking of it, but Danny was included in the kind of strawweight as a strawweight setup. So she won that fight with Maria Mazar, and in my opinion, performed the best out of any of the women that was looked great in doing so. So I mean, if anyone, like, based off matchups alone, not who deserves it or who should be or shouldn't be, like, I mean, what would make sense from a promotional standpoint is that they put Danny in that kind of a backup for a reason. So if someone else fell out, she would have been fighting for the title on that night. So does that mean she shouldn't fight for the title next? It certainly doesn't mean that Shauna shouldn't fight even for the title next. You know what I mean? There's so many variables here, and it's
I guess like what do you reckon? What do you reckon about like the timeline of it all as well? Because let's say Danny does fight for a title next, would Shauna take another fight also? Because like I'm sure she probably wants to be active. Like that's why she took this fight on Cage Legacy. Do they both fight next? Maybe Danny fights for title, Shauna fights someone else, and then, assuming they both win, they fight for a title.
So I think, depending on how timelines work out, you're saying, I think if Danny fights the belt next, which I think she'd be very much in line for, given the fact that she was a reserve, then instead of Shauna waiting, I can't see that being made. If, let's say, Danny wins the title, I can't see Shauna getting a title shot without another win in Invicta. I think she'd need at least maybe 2. I know Natty Vera is only 3-0, and the opponent that Danny had was a little bit more experienced.
I honestly thought that Danny and Maria Mazzar were the two best strawweights that night. Now, not to kind of disparage Tina Black or like she's Valeska Machado is her name, but her nickname is Tina Black, who won the title that night. She is the difference maker here in the title, and obviously for making fights outside of Danny and Sean, if you were going to put either Danny or Sean in that title fight, you know, there's a chance where, you know, Tina Black might go out and get the win. There's no saying. So, like, I can understand Andy's kind of perspective on strike when the iron is hot, because there's so many things that can happen in MMA, Caoilte. It's like, my opinion is that I want to glitter this fight up as much as possible, and I think the beauty of having Shauna and Danny fighting for an Invicta title with all the ramifications that might come after the fact as well would be phenomenal in my eyes, to be honest. That would be for me the best case scenario, but Ian, we don't live in a perfect world.
Ian, what are the odds that this Tina Black one gets signed to the UFC?
No, that would be a good move. That would be a good move.
Someone put in the call. Get her in there. Give her the call up. Vacant title. Let's go.
Unfortunately for her, though, the only thing I would say is that she did fight on the Contender Series and she lost on the Contender Series.
Right,
so she kind of missed the boat already.
Damn it, Tina.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Since then, Tina's been on a 5-fight win streak. I don't know, like her.
That sounds like a perfect resurgence. That you know, 5-0 since.
So
sign her up, Dana.
Vacant belt. I mean, yeah, that would be my opinion. Look, we're talking dreams, we're talking ifs, ands, or buts, Caoilte. Settle us down here a little bit. Settle us down here, Caoilte. Be the voice of reason. What's going to happen?
The youngest becomes the voice of reason. Look, I can't see it happening next. I can see it happening. I don't know if I can see it happening next. If it does, oh my God, I'd be absolutely buzzing. I think Danny could. I think she'd be well within her right to bide her time and wait for the title shot, because I think she could be. She definitely has a very good argument, and probably one of the best arguments in the Invicta division to get it after that win. I think Shauna could be honestly 1-2 wins away. And I think next year, maybe the later part of next year, I think Shauna and Danny could definitely happen. Maybe just 1 or 2 more fights first, and we leave the hype build up. Unless they just start going at each other in interviews, and then we can you
imagine this though? But this is brilliant, right? Because if they do have like that build up where they have a couple of fights, there'll be so much like respectful trash talk, basically. Like it'll be like, oh, I think she's great, you know, great fighter, all this, but I'm gonna kick her head in. Like there'll be and I'd say it'll be both sides, because neither mince their words, and it's brilliant. So this could be fantastic.
Brilliant. I know, it's great to be in it. Look, and look at it. Like I said, there's, you know, aspirations for both women. Both Danny and Shauna want to go to the UFC, and I think the sad reality of the situation, if one of them were to fight, I think, you know, one of them would probably not go to the UFC right now. I think a loss at this stage of their careers would be probably a bit more detrimental to Danny than it would be to Shauna. I think if Shauna did go in and fight there, you know, she would have a little bit more time than Danny would per se in her career to kind of get back into the UFC, and that has to be said as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, I said it time and time again. I mean, if you're a young up and coming woman and you're looking to try and make it in the professional ranks, I would be going straight to Invicta. I think that you're going to be handled in a professional manner there. You're going to be matched correctly. And I think you have that pathway to the UFC there as well. So I think it ticks off all the boxes when it comes to it. And it's great to see Shauna, and it's great to see Danny doing the thing in there. Both of them fucking lighting up the microphones after their interviews as well. It's just brilliant to see. It's great. And look, I know sometimes it's not always nice to see Irish fighters fighting Irish fighters, but I think this one makes all the sense in the world, lads. And unless we have
such
anything
a huge fight for Irish,
just a great fight.
Irish MMA, it's the same with like Lee and Sinead. It's
100%.
Yeah,
100%. We shall move on. I think we'll be talking about that fight plenty of times down the line as well. Premier FC return to Dublin this weekend. and they'll bring a really good welterweight title bout. The headline, Jordan Scully takes on Jess Paulo in the main event. Bantamweight title is on the line. Georgie Morano versus Ross Queerney from CMAC is also in the co-main event. A couple of good fighters and fights spread out throughout the card. Caoilte, anything in particular that you're really looking forward to here? We will give this a full extensive breakdown on the next episode of the Auld Triangle. But for now, a little preview. Caoilte, what are you looking forward to?
Title fights naturally going to be very excited for. I think they lost the Mary DiTefano and Jordan Bradshaw fight. I think that will get rebooked, and that would have been a cracker. But look, stepping in the main event, you got Jordan Scully. He's still young, like, and he's so active. It's great against Jess Paulo. I think that would be very good. Morao, and then Ross. Like, look, Ross he's kind of had a resurgence this year, and he's looked very good. So I'm very excited to see him back in there. And he's coming up against a tough opponent there as well from Phantom. So bantamweight title on line, not one to be keeping a very good eye on. But look, I think Matthew O'Rourke against Ryan Higgins. I'm looking forward to that. I got to see I think Ryan was fighting at Cage Legacy against Peter Newty, and I loved that fight. It was just stand up. It was just a war. Like, it was great to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing him back in action against Matthew O'Rourke. I think that should be a fun one. It's always good to see the heavier lads hitting, because someone could go out in literally a split second. It's great. There's just something about it, isn't there? But yeah, look, fair play to the Premier lads. I'm looking forward to traveling up to it and seeing the card. It's a fairly strong one now. Fair play to them. Like,
Caoilte will be there live, so he'll be looking out for any live Auld Triangle jokes there now as well. So put yourself on notice there.
Yeah.
Free t-shirt for the best one, is it? Even though we don't have any t-shirts printed or never talked about t-shirts before, but we might have to now.
One or the other. We'll figure it out.
One or the other. We'll figure it out. We'll hook somebody up.
Leave the people aside.
You know, Andy, you were at the last premiere show. Obviously, they had a couple of hiccups before that show, but ended up getting it off the ground in the hub in Kilkenny, the home of hurling. And I think they'll always put on a good show. I like Niall and the guys. They're doing the right thing. They're doing great things, and I'm expecting this card to be another good one as well. And it's always good to see these promotions up and coming. And I think it's been a good year overall. A fourth card for Premier FC this year. They've had a really successful 2022, and it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And most importantly, they've come to Dublin more than anything else. Like,
where's that?
They've left these third world counties behind, and have.
I heard Dublin is like this place like Narnia,
the one true capital. Yeah,
it's like Narnia, full of private schools.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't be saying that now. Let's not go that far. But yeah, I'm raging. I'm actually not able to make this one. Unfortunately, I'm all MMA'd out after last weekend, but my mates are going drinking, so I'm going to join them on the non-alcoholics because I'm a good boy these days. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do next year. I think 4 events in their first year of existence is impressive. And I think that they are very much trying to do things the right way. They're trying to get matchups, the right matchups. I know that it's very difficult for Irish shows as well, with regards to just putting on events and getting with balancing everything and with other shows going on and just getting like different gyms and stuff to come and fight. So hopefully we see more gyms fighting on Premier FC next year and more matchups, and I'm sure it'll get better and better.
Indeed we will. Something slipped through the cracks, lads, earlier on that we're supposed to cover in the podcast, and that's John Mitchell's fight. John Mitchell got out there, got a great win over. You got to see the fight. I've got to see snippets of the fight. You got to see it all today. Andy, take us through the fight and everything about that, please.
Jeez, I can't believe we almost forgot that. Yeah, John Mitchell just destroyed this poor lad. He went out. He was fighting over in India in this kind of like showcase exhibition event or something. Obviously coming off a loss, a great win. That was in like. It was good for John to get back in, and like he just destroyed this lad. He absolutely butchered his legs. He was using the outside leg kick as his kind of final shot of the combo each time. He was destroying him. He multiple times. He beat him in every single area where the guy was going for takedowns. Like he was easily stuffing them. The fight probably should have been stopped in the second round. I thought the ref could have stepped in. John was kind of playing with his food to an extent. He was putting on a great show. He was dancing in between rounds. He was at one point he did like the Bruce Lee kind of like beckoning the guy back up to his feet, and then he did he did another thing where he had your man kept on like going for Imanari roll. I can't remember his opponent's name. Apologies. He kept going for like Imanari rolls at one point, and John was just like, all right, yeah, like just stand up there, mate, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you some more. And so when he was on the ground at one point, he did like the pull the rope thing as well to like beckon him up. So like it was really, he was playing with the crowd. It was just a decimation. So levels above. John should be fighting people a lot better than that. He's well capable. But back in the win column. John looked great, and hopefully we see him in he could be fighting on any of the we will see him on PFL.
PFL next year. Yeah, he took on Basil Ahmed. That was the guy he took on getting the TKO.
Cora Basil took a hiding.
He did. He took I seen a couple of snippets of the fight, and it looked like he wanted nothing to do with John Mitchell, and that's completely fine. I wouldn't want anything to do with John Mitchell on the field.
Well, given the beating that he was sustaining, I don't blame him. Yeah, because anytime he tried throwing anything, he was just destroyed. Yeah,
100%. A couple of more little housekeeping things that we need to cover before we wrap it up for this week's episode. Éire FC have announced their next show, which is on the 28th of May in the National Basketball Arena. The MMA back. You might be over there.
It's just there this evening.
You'll be shooting a few hoops there now, watching the fights.
I'm the halftime show.
Love it, yeah.
my basketball team is gonna play a match there at halftime. You know, sometimes they have concerts. Yeah,
that's it. You'll be showing off your full court shots over the head. I love it.
Fucking delighted that they're doing a show in the basketball arena, because
man, that's where it used to be back in the day. Cage contenders, everything. I was in the basketball arena a couple of times.
I can't wait, because
there's a great atmosphere there.
Yeah, because I just fell like when I got into MMA, I fell in love with Irish MMA, and I was watching all these shows, and I grew up playing basketball since I was fucking 5 years old or whatever. And so I've played in the basketball arena many times. I was there earlier on training in the basketball arena, and I cannot wait to watch the lads beat the living shit out of each other in the basketball arena.
Love it. That's happening on the 28th of May next year. Iúr have announced a couple of shows, a trio of shows really. 26th of February is the first one. Iúr 6 or 7 is on the 28th of May, which is the same day as Éire Championships. I don't know whether it can be done, but please try not and have shows on the same day. It makes it so hard for us to watch.
I would really like if one, because I really want one of them to change their date. To be honest.
Yeah, both always put on great shows, and obviously poor Andy can't split himself in two, nor can Caoilte, so hopefully we'll be able to figure out something there. The third show, Iúr 8, is on in November, so geez, he's announcing all those shows from the beginning, the middle, and the end of 2022. Other newsworthy items: Derek Kelly has been announced against Dorval Jordan. That's been added to Bellator Dublin.
What'd you make of that matchup, lads?
I'm okay with it. I think I'm okay with it at this stage of Dara's career. I think, you wouldn't be looking for him to be going in there with any big names yet, and I think it's just another chance for him to go in there and compete. And I mean, unless you have any thoughts, you obviously asked the question for a reason. What do you think?
Team myself up. I know. I'd love to hear from Dara, because he was so hard and was like, this seems like a big step back to me. Like I think, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that match like this, and I think, it's like the two wins are against Dorval Jordan's 2-2. His 2 wins are against lads who haven't a win in MMA. I don't know. I just feel like Dara Kelly was incredibly harsh on his performance last time out. So I wonder if he still feels the same way. I don't know if he sees this as a step back. I don't know. Like, it just I thought he had a massive overreaction to his performance. I thought he looked good.
I look good. Look at it. I think I like seeing that. I like seeing someone who's not happy after a pretty dominant win. And look at it. He'll be back to the drawing board. This is a good chance. Look at, I think just the matchmaking in general for this Bellator card in February has been really, really strange, to be honest. But maybe we'll get into that a little bit in a few more episodes down the line. Moving on, Dario Sinagoga spectacularly missed weight by 10 pounds for the BFL title over here in Canada.
Yeah,
not good. That's the third time in a row for Dario that he's missed the lightweight limit, and he's going to have to move up to welterweight or not.
Seems that he's not a lightweight, huh?
Yeah, he's not a lightweight for sure. And it's it was one I was keeping an eye on. Obviously he had a chance to pick up the BFL title, but not after missing weight by 10 pounds. That fight did not go ahead. We talked about some upcoming events. Obviously we have Premier FC that's happening this weekend. IMMAF Youth International open as well. Caoilte, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so IMMAF actually kind of one of the first of kind of all the federations really to kind of host their own open in a sense and invite all the other federations to kind of join. So they're kind of putting on their own youth events. So it's just going to be the typical youth C, B, and A, and they're going to be competing up in SBG Ireland next Sunday, I believe, the 11th. Yeah, so I believe it's the 11th. So it's the either day after, day before Premier. I get my dates mixed up here. So yeah, look, they're putting that on. It's great. It gets youths a bit of a international competition. I know Ukraine are flying over, so that's really good given everything that's going on. You've Ukraine, you've Estonia flying over. I think you saw some some English athletes on the registration as well, and I saw an Israeli athlete on the registration as well. So look, there's a fair crowd coming over, and nice that they're putting down. Look forward to going down, see some youth bouts. I never really actually I didn't go to Youth World Championships, so it'd be good to see kind of what it's about and how they handle putting on an international event like this. It's not massive, but it's a great starting point for them, so fair play.
Yeah, fair play to them. It's nice to have those events going on, giving the youths the chance to kind of get in there and get some action as well. Someone who's going to be looking for some more action too is Leon Hill, who's going to be taking on Conor Dern on the 12th of December. So that's coming up this weekend coming as well at FIDA Fight Championships, which is the road to Venator, which is the Italian promotion, I think, is it? So yeah, sure maybe so if this is a road to Venator, maybe there's some implications for Leon. Maybe he might get the chance to fight at Venator if he gets the win against Conor Dern in that fight. That's on December 12th. Martin McNulty has been announced against Lidron Romani for European beatdown on Saturday. Fantastic name for opponent as well. Or not opponent, for a promotion, excuse me. Claire McNally, who was on with us the last time, will fight on December 15th at KSW. We'll cover all of those fights and all of those cards when we join you on the next episode of the Auld Triangle. And that wraps us up for episode 22. It's been a pleasure as always to break down all the fights. It was a busy couple of weeks in Irish MMA. We've got Premier FC coming up this Saturday. It's not over just yet. We're going to round off year 2022 in style. We'll be back once more before the year is done with the Auld Triangle. It's been great. We'll probably take a look at maybe doing a little bit of a year in review or something the next time. We'll kind of round off the year in special way whilst covering all the latest action and reaction as well. As always, thanks everybody for joining us today for the Auld Triangle. If you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, head on over to the podcast platforms that you use. Hit us up there, hit up the Auld Triangle podcast, give us a rating, give us a like, share with a friend. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all the fighters, all the coaches, all the gyms that go out there and dedicate their time. We wouldn't have anything to talk about if it wasn't for them. Thank you to Andy Stevenson, as always. He did a fantastic job covering everything and anything in Irish MMA over the last couple of weeks. Caoilte Barra as well, who's going to do it this weekend, as I will always be watching from afar. We will talk to you the next time. Peace out. God bless. Caoilte. See you out.
Slán go fóill.